Okay. We're going to call BUHS number 6 meeting for Monday, August 20th to order at 5:31. For people at home, so that everyone knows, or just had a little bit of dinner together, chatting and eating for a little while. We're going to go head through our sort of standard business stuff, and then under new business, there's a goal setting and planning and opportunity for us to talk about what kind of things we want to see and do in the coming year. And then executive session if necessary. I haven't heard of anything planned in that round, so we're good there. So let's start with clerk's report and the approval of the minutes of our July 16th meeting. Is there a motion?
Move the minutes of July 16th to be accepted as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additions, deletions, corrections, changes to those minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? None. Okay. Are there any communications that are coming, that came to board members that they need to share at this point? Yes, Sean.
I actually reached out about the grandstand. I don't know if we're going to talk about that at all later in a different venue here, but they did designate the grandstand on the historical record. So I was supposed to get a printout of what they did on that. I think they met on the 16th of July. So it is now on the historical record.
They being the advisory committee, right? The historical advisory committee.
That is correct.
So I don't know if we're 100% sure exactly what that means down the road, but they did designate it or advise that it be designated as a historic site.
Oh, so possibly there's a more detailed.
Yeah, we don't quite know what the details
criteria
behind that,
later, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great. Any other communications? Seeing none. And there's no groups or individual visitors today, so is there a motion to enter consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So let's start with finance, building, and transportation.
Okay, Finance, Building, and Transportation has not met since our last meeting, but we are scheduled for this Thursday, our annual tour of the facility, and we will be meeting here at the front door of the high school, I imagine, at 8 a.m. to visit see what things that have been done over the summer and perhaps other issues of interest, and all are welcome. We will have a tour, and I don't know if we have some other small business items, but this is primarily the pre-school opening tour and tradition. And that's the 23rd at 8 o'clock.
Excellent. All right. WSESU finance.
Has not met either. Russ is not here. I don't believe they've met. I think they've got one maybe scheduled in September.
Okay.
Or not scheduled or planned, somewhere along in their file.
Yes, I can try to find
Yeah, I actually had September 12th written in, but then I think Barb said that wasn't set in stone yet, so. But in any case, they have not met since our last meeting.
Great. Planning and policy.
Planning and policy met earlier today. We discussed the matter of whether the nurse should begin keeping Narcan on hand, and all felt that that was an excellent idea, absolutely appropriate. We also discussed the issue of the flag policy. We're not ready to move forward with a new policy yet. We're still working on forming that. We did vote that to recommend to the board that in the meanwhile, since we do not have a policy for the start of the year, the Black Lives Matter flag should continue to fly for the first partial week and through the full week following that at the start of the year. Should that be under new business when we actually
Yep.
vote on that? Yeah. So we'll be voting that under new business. And that's all we discussed.
Great. Thank you. Teacher Curriculum Committee.
Has not met. Oh, that's not me anymore. Who's that?
BAMS Committee.
The Bands Committee has not met.
WRCC Committee.
Has not met.
All right. There's nothing else coming forward under consent agenda. So is there a motion to accept consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so let's move to administrative reports. And we start down to far end with BAMS.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I share out today a BAMS focus in your WSESU account. So hopefully I got everybody in there. And that's pretty much my update for you. So I'll just share a few things. We had a really nice summer learning program this year, 4 weeks of kind of academics and traditional, well, it's not traditional, we've refocused it and shifted a lot over the last few years. We did 4 weeks of summer learning / beams, and it was a combined programming, and they had meals and everything with it. Full day free camp for our kids. There were themes each week, and in my weekly I thanked a bunch of teachers who participated. Jill Kelly, Suzanne Grenoble, Kate Burt, and Joe Garrison are kind of key players in organizing and carrying it all out, and just did an outstanding job. Then we also had a humanities camp, and that was run by Gabriella Raccio and Mary Linney, and that's grant funded. And then the last week was wilderness camp. I wasn't around too much during that week, but those have been traditional. Humanities and wilderness have been around for a while, but the new programming, full day option, combined themes and academics is new, and theme base is all new. It used to be you did like one or the other, and some kids did both, and now it's combined. And combining some resources between school budget money and the 21C budget. So I was really happy with it. Administratively, there were like 0 issues, because the 4 people I outlined there just do such a great job at organizing and getting it all together. And there are a few kids who didn't meet the standards to kind of move up to the next grade. So part of moving to the next grade was participating in that programming, and the kids that we worked with did a good job. We had one 8th grader who had to finish up doing kind of one-on-one tutoring for part of the summer. So really happy with that. The other principals might update you more on the work of the custodians, but we're recognizing them this week with a luncheon, and other summer staff as well for all their hours. But they replaced the walk-ins. Steve might have more of a comprehensive list. A lot of HVAC kind of controls work that was done this summer. The track was resurfaced. I don't want to say too much of what you might be sharing. The floors, waxed and really shiny, and it's also a chance for them to go into each room and really detail clean, and they painted a lot of walls at BAMS that were overdue to be painted, and so really, really happy with the progress they made. And you guys know it was humid this summer, so it was great for them to, they worked hard. I listed, and we've kind of done staff changes, but excited to have some new teachers on board. Teachers have been coming in doing 1% work, and some of those new teachers are being integrated into their teams, and so I've been happy with all of that. We had a 3-day work with our leadership team, working with a woman named Maura Hart from the University of New Hampshire. Essentially a consultant, really experienced, and she helped facilitate some major revisions to our skills block and really helping us define our leadership team and our leadership structure, and defining more clearly our multi-tiered systems of support. And I left feeling really excited and happy with the work we did. We have more work to do, but in there are some of the documents we came up with, which would be potentially a little challenging to try and figure it out if you don't work in the school. But for students, I'm excited because it's an opportunity to get extra help and with a real focus. And we're trying to kind of raise the bar academically. So this plan has many essential components to doing that. So, and then we're just ramping up with just a lot of kind of details for the first week of school, in-service plans, teachers coming back, trying to figure out how to cover everything in a fairly small window of time, and you know, things are looking great. So I'm excited to get started. And any questions?
What does enrollment look like? Do you have any ideas what enrollment looks like so far for the fall?
Right along with projections, I would have to look at our system. At this time of year, it's pretty common in a school like ours to get kids coming and going, like
Right.
fairly frequently. And our registrar, 283 enrolled right now, give or take, you know, so we'll
Yep.
transfer at the last minute,
Right.
kids will come in. One thing I want to update you on, you likely heard the news that one of our teachers had a devastating fire, Jake McDermott. Probably about 3 weeks ago, his house burned to the ground up in Putney, and so him and Eve are doing pretty well given the circumstances. Fortunately, there was a family living with them. They had tenants, a teacher from Putney Central School, and her kids. They were overseas apparently, so they were out of the house, and Jake had just come back for that one night. They were staying on the Cape, his dog and his wife Eve were down on the Cape, and his 2 adult daughters were out of town. So it was just Jake, but a devastating fire. They lived there 40 years, and it kind of built the place up over the years. And so, as you can imagine, pretty challenging for them. And they've had a ton of community support. They finally found a place that they're happy with to rent in Putney, and they plan on rebuilding there in town in the same spot. So it's a beautiful spot, way up off Johnson Curve Road. I can't think of the name of the little. There's about 20 turns to get up there, but so he's you know, I actually just saw him. He was here at the school a few minutes ago, and he's excited to start the year, so he'll be back on time. And so that's some sad news, but he's bouncing back as best he can. So they are. So.
Keith, are there any new hires that the committee might have did that the whole board is not aware of over the summer?
I think haven't we had a board meeting since we did those, and then we had a board meeting in
Yep.
July.
And so everything, there's no
Yeah.
update since July?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm still looking for behavior analysts. I'm not shocked that we don't have one, because it's a tough position to fill, but that was a spot that we were hoping to fill. Right now, you know, just don't have applicants I felt met what we were looking for. And we had a very late resignation special ed a couple weeks ago, which I assume would get approved or processed through the SU board, but we'll have to fill a special ed position, and we're gonna be scrambling to figure out how to kind of make everything work personnel wise and at this last minute. But you know, Joe Gruta's the new special ed coordinator at BU6, and confident he is working with us to come up with kind of plan B if we're not able to hire somebody. So still have a little bit of time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The high school.
Sure. So as Keith mentioned, the custodial staff is feverishly working to finish the building. You know, on the tour, you'll see some of the high spots. I think some of you have seen the track already. Used it, as a matter of fact. Another big part of the summer that Keith didn't mention was the curbing. We've done extensive work on the curbing out here to try to work on making it more handicap accessible. That's been going on. That's been going on all summer as well. We've done a little light work in the church parking lot. We actually have a lease agreement with the folks at the church. We use it 5 days a week, and we offer to maintain it for them as well. So we did some work over there. With the building, you know, we're getting close to the end. We're finding little bits and pieces of things that we have to kind of adjust on the fly at this point. But Robert and his crew, Jamie is the supervisor for that crew. They have done an incredible job this year of getting things moving along and keeping things moving. One of the things that we need to think about moving ahead, as summer use in the building increases, it's really creating a tough chess game because we have various summer programs in at different times. And so probably beginning in January this year, we're going to have to sit down and really coordinate what sections of the building we're going to do the hard clean on, which sections will we wait, because as we use the building more and more, and there's more expectation in the community that it's available, it's putting some stress on availability. And we did have to say no this summer to a few groups that wanted to come in, and we had to say, you know, we really can't do that this year because we've got to clean this at this time of the year. So we're trying to balance that and doing okay, but you know, we're feeling some pressure with that. I want to pass around a letter. Aiden Salison Dean, who's one of our students who actually is doing early college this year. He attended the Governor's Institute for Engineering, and he had a thank you letter that I thought I'd want to share. He said it was a great experience, got to meet people, got to work with professionals in the field. So I'd like to pass this around, and then Woody, if you could pass it on to the people that help with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for the state to see that. You did a nice job. All of our fall sports are now in full swing. Soccer started today, football started a week ago. Turnout looks really good, soccer especially, robust turnout for both boys and girls. And we're looking forward to seeing those teams settle out over the next couple of weeks. And another high interest sport this year is cross country, which is good to see. And I'll get full schedules to the board once they're finished. I do know our opening football game is the first day of school, the 31st, against Rutland here. So they're going to start off with a big test right away. So, but they're looking forward to it. Department heads and counselors began today, and counselors did not meet with students today. They'll be meeting with students Wednesday through Friday, and with schedule changes and things of that nature. Everybody's back and looking forward to the year. Same thing with department heads. They came back today. We'll be having our opening department head meeting later this week. This year, we are doing the faculty book study, and the book we're reading is a book by a gentleman named Jimmy Casas, and it's called Culturize. And the premise of the book is that everyone within the school whether it's a teacher, a student, or administrator, has the potential to be a leader, and that everyone in a school has an equal obligation to create a positive environment for students and for your colleagues. We're looking forward to this reading. After we finish that, I'd like to get copies to the board so you can see it as well. But we'll begin that book reading next week, and that will go through the first semester. Several staff members have mentioned to me that they're excited for us to do a book study. We haven't done one in a long time here as a faculty, so people are looking forward to that. Our Boosters Club has graciously donated a massive sign. When it came in, the custodian said, well, who got this 104-inch TV? Is it for your office, Steve? I said, no, it's a sign. So it's one of those message boards that's used to advertise events. It is the full color version. It is beautiful. We're working on getting that installed hopefully next week before school starts, but it's going to take some specialized equipment to lift it and mount it on the side of the building. So we're looking forward to that. You know, in the Boosters Club, I can't say enough about the work they do. And if you know anybody that's looking to help out and they have a child who's involved in athletics, they should check out the Boosters Club. A lot of opportunities that go beyond just working in the Colonel's Den. That is an important piece of it, but the Boosters they do a great amount for our athletes. And so if you know anybody looking for ways to help out, please let them know. Ricky, you asked about our enrollment. You're going to. We're looking right now at about 213 to 217 ninth graders coming in. So we'll probably be a little bit north of 800. And I'm hedging because what happens in the first 10 days is you have what are called 10-day drops. Students that have moved or are discontinuing schooling and they don't tell anybody. And so we carry them on the rolls for the first 10 days and then they're dropped because we can't get in contact with them. That's an unfortunate number as well for us because those 10-day drops are included in our dropout numbers for the year. So students that have signed up but never show up are still included in that number. And I'm not sure that's equitable, but it's the numbers that we work under, so we will. This Thursday on the 23rd, we'll be doing a parent-athlete meeting in the auditorium. It's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended for the parents of our athletes. We'll have Athletic Director Chris Sawyer will be there. He'll talk about athletics here at BUHS. He'll talk a little bit about coaches, how coaches get professional development, how he evaluates coaches every year. The trainer, Jackie Penson, will be here. She'll talk about the care and feeding of the athletic trainer, what she's qualified to do. She can do brain surgery, and what she is qualified to do. There's always some question about, well, the trainer can do X, Y, Z, and she's very clear on what her limits are in terms of diagnosis and treatment. So she's going to do a presentation as well. And finally, the boosters will be there, and they're going to talk about the Booster Club and what it can do for the school community. So we're looking forward to that as well. We've also hired a day supervisor, and this is informational for the board. We've hired Mr. Richard Aethier. He goes by Ricky. He was the head custodian at Academy School. He'll be joining us next week. He comes with a wealth of experience. He's been in the community for a long time. He's going to be a great addition. One of the tricky pieces is we want to make sure that we don't leave Academy School high and dry. So we're working on a way that he can continue to help out at Academy School while they transition to a new custodian. So that's in process, but we're excited to have Ricky join us. He's going to do a great job. Not only will he allow Robert to work on some other issues, he'll also be able to support Robert with things like the Niagara software, learning how the HVAC system works. So we're excited about that. You'll remember at the last board meeting, Karen Tronosky, our technology integration specialist, resigned. And we've interviewed some folks. We had 3 applicants that we interviewed. We had 13 people apply, and I'm recommending that we appoint Ms. Allison Cram to the position of technology integration specialist. Allison has been here at BUHS since the 2012 school year. She was a long-term sub for Gary Blomgren and then was hired permanently in April of 2013. Allison has a master's in internet teaching from Marlborough College. She is well-versed in technology here at BUHS. She'll do a great job. That's going to be a 1-year position because We are currently now hiring a ceramics and TV production teacher, and that's a skill set that you can imagine is kind of hard to get inside the same person. So for this year, Allison will continue to teach TV production both semesters. And this person who we hire will teach ceramics and foundations and art for the year. We want to do a one-year position for Allison and for the new teacher because we want to kind of see how things work out. So both of these appointments are 1 year, Allison's appointment and then whoever we hire. So at this point, I'm asking for Allison Cram to be appointed as our technology integration specialist for the upcoming year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Moving a second. Any other questions related to that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And I will let Ricky know when we have scheduled interviews for the art teacher. We're hoping to get that in place, obviously, by the end of next week. So, any questions? Anybody know somebody who can teach ceramics? Okay, thank you. Excellent. Oh, before I forget, Allison will continue to teach ceramics until we do the hire. So we're not going to stop that program, so she'll teach that until we make that hire. So.
All right, Career Center.
It's been pretty quiet down at the Career Center. Things are going well as I prepare for staff to come in next week. We did have our guidance counselor come in and registrar and assistant director today, so it was good to see some new faces here that haven't been around for a while. But things are going fine, pretty excited to get started. But I do have one new hire. I'd like to make a request that the board approve the hiring of Linda Quay as a WRCC co-op coordinator for the 2018-2019 school year. Linda has been with the Career Center for many years as an early childhood education instructor and has previous experience in placing students in work-based learning environments throughout her program that she's worked with. The position is part-time, 90 days for the year. It is also a state requirement that all career and technical centers have a co-op coordinator. And this position is reimbursed 35% through state funds also. So I'd like to request that the board approve the hiring of Linda Quay as our part-time co-op coordinator for this year.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
moved and seconded. Is there any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, great.
Could you have an idea how many students you're going to have? I know it's
Ian just
summer.
came back today, so I don't have that exact number. We had around 300 students taking classes, which had about 100 FTEs last year at that time. So I'm not positive on the current enrollment.
Okay.
Then.
All right, central office.
Sure. So this week, we really get started. We have new teacher welcome breakfast and training on the 23rd. New paras coming in for training and welcome on the 24th. All teachers come back next Monday on the 27th. We have opening meeting where all the employees from WSESU meet here at the high school on the 28th. You're certainly all invited to stop in for that meeting at 8:30 if you'd like. For Student Day on the 30th for 7th graders and 9th graders, and then all students are back on the 31st. So a lot coming in right up fast, so that's good. September 19th, we have the last Act 46 State Board of Education meetings. Those will be happening in Chester. The Wyndham Southeast Supervisory Union is first on the agenda, so I believe there's an organizational meeting that starts at about 8:30, and then individual boards have their time scheduled after that. And then there's a public comment period just before lunch, so that's at the Chester Green Mountain High School, if anyone's interested in that. Just a message that a new Secretary of Education was appointed by Governor Scott. It's Dan French. Dan comes with a classroom teacher experience, principal experience, and superintendent experience, so we're looking forward to working with him. In the beginning of August, we had a student leadership time at Landmark College. This is a great opportunity for students from each of our schools in WSESU to bring together a student leadership team with interns from the high school. Student interns from the high school usually help us out. They look at a lot of different things happening. They look at their student climate surveys and talk about some of the different things that they could work on in the upcoming year as student leaders around student climate. We had this year sessions on working with empathy. We had sessions in, one session which was great reviews on how to be a friend but without forcing yourself. So you don't have to, you can be friends with a boy and he doesn't have to be your boyfriend, and how to tell people, hey, back off. So that was all at Landmark College. There was a big group from BAMS. BAMS, could you remind me, who are the student, Rob O'Connor?
Rob O'Connor and Jessica Montanieri.
Are the
Yep.
two BAMS leaders. We have a parent dinner the first night, which was very well attended. Landmark does a really great job. And then the next day, the kids have lunch at the college. This year, there was a scavenger hunt, which sent kids all around the campus. So they got to go into the library, into the science center, into the student athletic building. And at each place, they had little things that they did, but it's a great way for our students, some as young as 5th grade, but mostly 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, to visit a college campus, see what's happening, get to know kids from other schools, and then think about their own student leadership at their own schools. That all happens as well.
Great, thanks, thank you. I don't have anything specific for a report. So we'll move to unfinished business, and there's nothing listed here. Is there anything that should be on the agenda on unfinished business that we missed somewhere? Didn't think so.
Ricky, one thing I just forgot to add, I shared out my student handbook with the board, and that's really an FYI.
Mhm.
I don't need board approval on it. I think I might have mentioned that.
And everyone's getting their emails through with their WSESU email and stuff. Great. All right, under new business. New business. Under new business, we have a policy related thing to do before we go and talk about goal setting. So I'm gonna do that first.
Ann, you had brought this up in committee. Would you like to present it?
Oh, I'll try. In light of questions that we have about the student flag use, we would like to recommend to the board that we continue to fly the Black Lives Matter flag through that first partial week and then the full second week, after which we will be declaring a temporary moratorium on flags until we can come up with a policy.
So is that an official motion?
Sure.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion on that or questions from board members related to that?
Any kind of general idea how long it might take to get something, a couple of meetings?
We don't really have a strong basis for it yet. I think we're getting closer to that point for our discussion today. But at this point, I couldn't say for sure, yeah, it's going to be X number of meetings, because
I just want a general idea.
we don't have a good first draft yet, really, even, because we've been bouncing around different thoughts. We had one, but it wasn't meeting legal muster. So it's still very much up in the air.
Work in progress.
Ideally, we come to the next planning and policy meeting with a nice, well-written policy, and we can immediately put it into process, and it would then take 3 meetings. But I think that's a bit of wishful thinking, and I feel it'll take a little more time.
All right. Any other questions related to that policy or that motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay, great. So that gives the administration something to work with. So next is about goal setting and planning for the coming year, and that's really why we started early tonight, was to give us as a board, and also I think that, I know I'll speak for myself as a board member, I always appreciate input from the administration around things that maybe are coming up during the coming year that we should be mindful of and aware of, what kind of things we want to try to accomplish as a board this year, and where we want to go from there. So I don't know if anybody has any ideas, thoughts to start us off. I know I have a couple, but yeah,
Well,
Sean.
I'll ask my perennial question, is with the restructuring, I was just wondering, maybe if we could have an overview of the restructure potential, and then how that's actually going to affect what our goals would be. Sort of seems like it could be a pretty big hit in terms of goals. So, in other words, I sort of feel like we're in limbo at this moment, which is a hard place for a board to be.
I was thinking about that because that was one of the thoughts that I had too, was related to the restructuring. But my thought also into this place of, no matter what's decided sometime between September 19th and November 30th, whatever's decided there and whatever that means for us as a school district, as a community, this board will be in place at least until July 1st.
Okay.
Or until June 30th, till June 30th. Because whatever entity is created based on what the Act 46 comes down from the State Board of Education won't go into effect officially till then. I mean, they will come together probably as a group and start working on things, but they won't be a decision-making body. So us coming up with goals for this coming school year is fine, I think, because it won't change that dramatically.
Also to that point, unless they make some change in the law regarding union districts, although they can change the town school districts, because those are not union districts, this board requires a few more steps to actually change. So we need another vote, and this board is more complicated than the town schools in an alteration. They can't just wave their hand and make that happen. So we're definitely going to be around for a little while.
Because in theory, we could be, whatever board it gets created, there still could be a BUHS board. That could be part of going on indefinitely.
When do you think that will be clarified?
So, right, I spoke with Donna Russo-Savage, who is one of the lawyers from the agency who oversees Act 46. She was hoping to get articles of agreement, draft articles of agreement done very soon, and that will outline things such as how many representatives from each town, when that vote will actually take place. So there'll be more specifics once those draft articles are published. And that's when we can start looking at it. We won't know until possibly as early as mid-October, but they have until November 30th to make the final determination. Some of the things they'll consider are, what about Vernon? Vernon has their special dispensation. They could be on their own. They could be assigned to another school, a supervisory union that has schools with school choice. So that's still a sort of hanging over us. If they were assigned here, we would have to have a supervisory union in addition to the Vernon board, in addition to the merged board. So there's just so many unknowns at this point.
But things are going to come quickly
Yes,
because
they
they're
will.
only a couple of months
Yep. It's gonna
time.
be very quick.
And then all those decisions will be
Yep.
formulated, maybe not totally answered, but the
Correct.
questions.
And I think while the decisions will come quickly, we'll have a little bit more to go on in another few days, I would think. Just
Right.
knowing like, okay, every town's going to have this many, or this many from Brattleboro Town, this many reps from the outlying towns, or whatever they decide, and when those votes will take place. So I think there will be some information that we'll be able to get started with.
In September.
in September.
Thank you.
And there's definitely a lot of unknown related to all this right now until some decisions are made by this.
Yeah, it's difficult to even ask questions about it.
Right.
It's,
Because there's too many possible unknowns and too many what ifs, yeah.
But I think your point, Ricky, this board will sit as a legitimate board until June 30th.
At least, yeah.
2019. So, you know, all the committees will be, everything will be the same, and the budget development there will be budget development implications, because that's one of the things they said in the paper, that they were going to try to let all the boards know and all the supervisory unions know as early as possible for budget development. I don't really know, you know, what the implications will be budgetarily, but Frank probably does.
And that's a really good point, because this board has to have their budget done first, basically. So we are being frank, and we are really hoping that we have something definitive before November, because by then you are well into the budgeting process.
But at the end of the day, you still have the same 3 units that are gonna have to come up with budget numbers.
Right.
That's not
Yeah.
gonna change, so
Yeah.
a good share of it would be, maybe district budget might be affected, but
Yeah.
there'll be plenty of budgeting to do.
Right, when it's voted on, how it's voted will
Yeah.
be determined.
So leaving Act 46 aside, are there other things that we as a board want to do, want to see, want to have happen in the coming year, want to know more about, want to know anything? Yeah, Don.
Would it be helpful if, for instance, finance, if I gave you an idea what our activities are going to be, and if people have other ideas or
Yeah.
don't think we should spend time on some of these things, might generate some
Yeah.
food for discussion. The Finance Committee has actually got a lot on their plate and on our plate. And probably the number one overall item for this coming year, and pipe in if you disagree or I've got it wrong, is going to be a long-term capital improvement plan for the campus, including the grounds. We've been spending quite a bit of time on that already. There's some changes happening. We have a storage shed, a pretty good sized storage shed project that's we will be kind of monitoring. And the practice field is already under construction, is it yet? Or?
Actually, at 7 o'clock tonight, it goes before the DRB.
Oh, that's right, the DRB still has to pass on that one.
Clerk he's there tonight.
So we're wrestling with our needs way down the line in terms of field space and so forth, but we will also spend some time revisiting the capital plan. So when we present our budget recommendations, we work out about 5 years, but we'll make modifications to the one we did last year for that. We do periodically, obviously, monitor fiscal year-to-date results. There's going to be a transition in the healthcare plan administration. Frank has advised us of that. We will keep an ear to the ground on that. We are still in the net metering solar project, and we periodically will get some numbers on that. That's a project that we're tied in with a bunch of other schools. And when that started last year, Sean?
Well, I think they just commissioned it within the last 6 months. There was a date, they hadn't apparently quite finished it, but there was a date that they actually had to start producing, and I think they did that. So it is moving forward, just maybe a little more slowly than they anticipated.
And that will realize some savings in energy over time.
Quite a bit, yeah, quite a big savings.
The other thing that another thing we're working on is our endowment. We review the endowment portfolio periodically, and we have the managers that take care of this, which are three. There's two for the Eames endowment and one for the rest of our endowment. And we periodically review results there, and once a year, generally, we have them, the investment advisors come in and explain to us what they're doing and how they're doing it and how well they're doing it, and we authorize some changes if necessary. And so that's the basic work of the Finance Committee. We are following, obviously, Act 46 and what implications that might have. We just discussed that, so we know where we're at with that. And that's our major body of work for this year. So regardless of what happens in terms of all of this Act 46 stuff, we've got work to do on the nuts and bolts. I don't know if there's other suggestions, or is that?
Well, in the last finance meeting, maybe you could clarify, because I didn't totally understand it. The state has put out a new way to do things in terms of the keeping track of all the different accounts.
Yeah, the accounting system changed.
Joint accounts, right. So the state is mandating how all school districts will keep track of account numbers, assigning specific numbers, so that everybody in the state is using the same system. So that will mean a change for us. We chose the last possible date to do that because we still don't have any specifics on merging, and we did not want to change, put in Brattletown, Putney, Dummerston, each individual school as part of the chart of accounts, and then in a few months say, oh, wait a minute, now you're all one, which would necessitate going back and changing again. So we've tried to push that out as far as we can so that we have more definitive answers around the merger. But that will be happening. Frank and payroll and any invoices in, bills getting paid, all of that will be working in a new system, probably at some point in the end of winter, early spring next year.
And Frank has already done a good deal of that work because he's unified all the numbers for, I don't even know, each one of the categories has a specific number associated with it, so it's easily identifiable.
It's going to be a huge amount of work.
Yeah,
But as usual, Frank's ahead of the
yeah,
curve.
right,
They're very fortunate.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, definitely. So that's a lot from finance, a lot on their plate in finance, and building and transportation. Are there other thoughts, areas that people want to see, want to know more about, want to do more with? Yeah, Sean?
Oh, one of the things that we talked about in TCC is the 1% feedback. And so I know that has been mentioned a number of programs that people have been working on, and then we'll go and observe. And I was kind of remembering back when we actually went to the teacher venue, like we did Steve Rice right in the band room, and that was really kind of a nice way to do it, because rather than having them come here, we saw their work in their own work environment, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was one of my ideas too, is around more just general board educational, what's going on, whether it's related to 1% or other things that are happening.
That was very cool, but if we're going to do that, could we make sure that in the notification we provide not just a room number, but directions?
Yes.
So you just said general board education, are there specific?
I didn't have specific topics. I mean, I know some things that came through TCC, through 1%, we were like, oh, it would be really great to get a follow-up on that afterwards. So I know that there's some notes related to that around, but I think that, and I think it goes with BAMs too, and probably done with the Career Center, that it might be really nice to have the committee chairs of those committees just work with the administration around, and then talk to me about communicating, so we're not trying to do too much education all at the same time. I know we end up picking a break around board education related to budget season, because everybody's tied up in budget meetings, but either before budget meetings or after budget season's over, to really get some of that, an idea of what they did and how it went and what did they learn and what are the students learning because of the work that they did. But also I would turn to the administration and say, if there's a really cool project that's happening that we're just not aware of, or I mean, I know a couple years ago there was a thing with the gym teachers around, I don't know if it was 1% fund or not, to be totally honest, but we went down to the gym and I learned a whole lot that night, which was really cool, and it was really great to see their energy and their passion behind it. So if there's a teacher or teachers that are a department that's doing something really cool, for us to work that into some board education so that we can learn more about that too. I think that'd be great.
That wasn't 1%. It was like there was a new teacher or something, or they were developing a new curriculum.
It was Mia Sweet and the Fitbits.
Yep, that's what it was.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, I just remember it was really neat to see their energy and even if it was not something that we knew a lot about, it just, the energy, just connecting with the teachers in that way was really great.
But no more standardized testing for the board, please.
I thought that was
As much
pretty
fun as that
educational.
was.
That was very educational.
I'd like to bring somebody in, either from the state or a local person, to talk a little bit about what our school community needs to become a more trauma-sensitive community. And that's becoming a buzzword, and Lyle and I were actually at the VPA, and the presenter, David Milnick, actually doesn't use the word trauma anymore. He uses the word stress, because when we think of trauma, and as it relates to a student, we conjure up images of really horrendous things happening. He prefers to use the word stress, because stress is something we can all relate to, and we all understand that there's varying levels and times of stress in people's lives. I would love to do some board education in that area, whether it's, David Milnick's going to be in the area doing some work with some of our teachers in Windham County. So whether we get him to come here and speak at a board meeting, or we have people on staff in the district that can come and speak, I think it would be a great opportunity for you to hear a little bit about this really intangible concept that I think is critical and really prevents a lot of our kids from being able to access their education, because they can't access their education because they are so rooted in their trauma in the moment. And it used to be just be quiet and learn, and that doesn't happen. And so I think it would be good for the board to hear more about that.
The other takeaway for me was how that daily trauma starts to impact our teaching staff, and what they're having to see and what they're having to work with every day starts to build up. And so the stress that they're under has also increased, and what we can do to help our teaching staff as well.
It sounds really interesting, yeah. I would say, unless board members have anything else, I would say, yeah, let's do that. That's great. Let's try to work on setting that up.
I just like that concept of looking at it as stress rather than trauma. It does put a completely different mindset on it.
It did for me. When he talked about that idea, it just kind of shifted the whole thing for me. Because trauma does conjure up such a strong connotation. But it's not just an event that happens that is terrible, like a physical assault or something like that. It's also just the constant stress of being in a community where you may see things on a regular basis that are traumatic and are stressful.
It's pretty, there's some pretty interesting visuals that go along with it, around kind of our brain and the different kind of modes that we're in. And what was really powerful to me is, we make these analogies like, the student went from 0 to 100 and like that. Well, the reality is they're already at 75, and that's their life all the time. And sometimes the other important factor that really comes out in this stuff is that the adults are sometimes not, they have stress. And so we sometimes, our stress, the student that's at 75, and we bring our own kind of emotion to the situation because we react a certain way to what they do or say, and then that child bounces to 100 in a hurry, and we're like, wow, he went from didn't say anything to he's out of control. And this information on trauma-informed school really kind of brings to light where kids are actually at frequently, and it helps. For me, it helps. We need to check ourselves sometimes around, are we kind of in the yellow zone? Or are we a little bit upset and emotional or have a lot of stress going on for ourselves? And how does our stress contribute to that student? The way we respond is critical to whether we make the situation worse or better. And that's kind of new. In many ways new, because we've always just focused on the student, and really we need to look at ourselves a lot too. So it's pretty interesting.
So you had a facilitator that actually illuminated that whole idea? I mean, yeah, you had somebody come and...
Yeah, there's a lot of courses and workshops happening now. I teach several teachers at BAMS who presented our staff meetings in the spring on this, because they were taking like 3 credit courses. But this fella, Dave Melnick, is pretty well known in the state. He's very well spoken, has a pretty powerful presentation that he shared with us, so we have access to it too. So.
Excellent. Are there other thoughts, ideas? Yeah, Paul.
Well, moving to the Career Center, Committee, one of the things that we talked about off and on, and correct me and add on to the committee members, is the challenge of advocacy and awareness. And we discussed that a little bit with Ray as he begins his new responsibility. We're looking forward to community involvement. And it's always struck me as amazing how, with this operation being right part of this campus, you have a lot of parents and families just really don't focus at all on what's available over there. And it's a resource that could be much more heavily utilized. And I think hopefully that'll be our effort as advocates, but also creating awareness of the Career Center. And we're really looking forward to the new staff setup settling in. It's nice to know we got an experienced co-op coordinator, and I don't know if others have to add to that, but that's always has been at the top of my mind with the Career Center, that it's more awareness and advocacy and more utilization of the facility.
I think it's not just within our community, but even within our school district, even within our campus.
Right. Right. That's right.
Whether they actually know what occurs and what in the buildings that we have, whether it's a trades, industrial building, or here at the PTC. Right. So to get that information out, and Steve knows we've been communicating pretty well, with his staff, and to try to explain what's going on and not to shy away. And I mentioned to Steve before, may have a little announcement during workshops, so the staffs want to get in a few steps to take a tour, to come on by.
And having the Career Center staff somewhat out in the community too, particularly your case, we're looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I think we have a staff that has a lot of the potential to be able to do that there. And I think that's my job, to guide them in that direction, as we'll be starting on the 27th doing that.
I think too that even if there was a presentation that was done for us, to kind of walk us through it, because then it's on BCTV, and I'm always blown away by how many times people respond to me because of something that we have said when there's been nobody in the room but us, but they saw it on TV. You know, whether it was a topic we talked about or whatever else. So, you know, even giving, as a board education standpoint, giving the Career Center the opportunity to do a presentation to the board, but then it'll go out to everybody that sees it online or on TV. I think that'd be really beneficial too to get.
Absolutely. I'd love to
Yeah.
have you see the facility also. and
Right.
meet with some of the staff so you actually know
Who's going on.
what we have here and what we're doing, and makes quite a difference in a lot of kids' lives to be able to keep them here and to apply some of those academics that are happening both in our programs and at the high school level. So
Been a long time since we've had a tour,
Yeah,
almost back to when it was just getting started
yeah,
up there.
it was really new, yeah.
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, we should do that. Excellent.
So what do we need to do to make that happen? A soul tour of the Career Center?
Well, we can schedule a board meeting with a tour of the Career Center, like prior to the, come and sit down at a board meeting, and then as part of board, and then as part of board education, have the folks from the Career Center, whoever you decide to have come do a little presentation about it. Because I think too that, I think one of the questions that's out there around that, and maybe it's just what I hear, is that people aren't even 100% sure how to access it, whether they're in this building or not. You know, like my kid thinks about wanting to access it, but how do you access that? You know? So even if it's as clear as simple as, this is, you know, if you're a BUHS student, this is what you need to do to take to courses at the Career Center as part of the education, because I think that that's part of the myth that's out there, that there's a whole special process and application process and whatever else, and it's not, people, I think people think it's more complicated than it actually
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's, that's part of the application, but I think we could schedule a, you know, sort of an early meeting time to start, instead of a committee meeting happening, to a tour of the Career Center facility specifically, and maybe even talk to BCTV and see if they wanted to have a roaming camera join us for that tour, and then come back here to a, you know, and as board education as part of the course of studies, and how do you do it,
Yeah,
kind of
if
thing.
we can schedule it with enough lead time, like,
Yeah.
if it's in the evening, so I can have some staff available
Exactly.
to show their programs, if
Mhm.
they have the knowledge.
So we can work on scheduling that up pretty soon, before we get into budget season, maybe even too,
Sure.
so it's not, so it's still fresh in people's minds, and people can see what's going on. That'd be great. Other ideas or thoughts?
Maybe I'd go back to Bob's finance report, and is there any tie-in between the grandstand at the board level? In other words, does the board need to be aware of what's happening there, or what the potential is, or are there too many unknowns?
Well, I would suggest that we find out exactly what this means, this designation. And it's obvious, I made a comment that maybe it's interesting in the press, that I said the bulldozers haven't been fired up yet. It was kind of almost an impression that we were ready to start wreaking havoc on that area over there. And we are wanting to start getting this whole plan figured out, but I honestly, I don't know exactly what, and Frank said the same thing, he doesn't know exactly what that means, an advisory committee designation, advising designation, and what the implications of that are, but there's a whole lot of other pieces of the puzzle that we can work on in the meantime, and one is the practice field. I think the fate of Famolari Field will hopefully fall in such a way that we have access to it, but we don't know that for sure. There's some changes going on up there.
Is the practice field actually going to be implemented this year?
Well, it's at
DRB.
DRB tonight,
Yeah.
and so.
Because we'd hoped to get that going in June, thanks.
Right, and we were told we had to go to the Development Review Board. So the engineer and Robert have been working on that. They're meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. And
they are up there representing
they are.
us, yeah.
And then what will happen is, if that's approved, then we'll just start the process. You know, we're just kind of waiting for that approval. we have the plans, we know what we're gonna do, we're just waiting to get it
Is that
approved.
gonna make your practice field more difficult early this fall?
It is,
Yeah,
it is. But we had that plan because
yeah,
before we knew we had to go to DRB, we had planned to move, there's a schedule that will move all the practices off of the practice field.
yeah,
Because if they do it this fall, it won't be usable till next spring at the earliest.
right.
And that's assuming, unfortunately, with DRB, sometimes they come back with a question that everybody thinks they thought of all the questions, and then they come up with something that's and that has to go back, and that could take time too.
And that could then push it into the following year possibly.
Yeah. Depending on what kind of questions they come back with. You never know.
Yeah, but right now, we're still on a timeline now where we could have the expansion done. If not usable, but we have it done by the time the snow flies.
And then usable in the spring.
I'm not gonna speak for how the sod will take, and I don't want to comment.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to predict how the grass grows.
No.
All right. Any other thoughts, ideas, things that people want to know more about?
Do we anticipate this going much longer?
Depends on the will of the committee.
We've been here over 2 hours now, and there was food involved. I could certainly use a 5-minute recess if we're going to go much longer.
Why don't we, I have 6:37. Why don't we go ahead and take a break till 6:45 real quick, a little 8-minute break, and then we can come back because I want to confer on some things. And if maybe I wrap up really soon, but let's take an 8-minute break.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
We're not talking about fights in the hallway.
It's not.
So we're back at 6:46 from our little break. And are there other thoughts, ideas, things that board members want to see as far as education goes, see as far as parts of the building? I mean, I don't want to speak for the administration, but I know that we're all welcome. Well, I can't speak for the administration when I say we're all welcome in the building whenever. So, and as somebody who does spend time in the building during the day, sometimes it's a nice idea to get a feel of what's going on in the school. So, I encourage you to do that.
I guess let me frame this thought. I would like more things to happen in the school, like maybe some of these education sessions, not just tied to a board meeting, but hey, we're going to have a tour of something on X day at 2. Yeah. So that there's a more, not directed, but purpose-driven reasons for us to come and visit.
Mm-hmm.
And no, we wouldn't get the whole board at a off time, but. So maybe some things that might not have as broad an appeal, that we want to do them as an official board education thing on the board meeting, but just, hey, anybody who wants to see how X class is working, we're going to do a little tour or something like that.
I know like in the spring, I remember when concerts were happening, the administration let us know that they're going to be playing for the school at a certain time, and I know that if any of us showed up during that time to watch the show, that would be acceptable, and not so we get to see how the music department does its thing, but also when they're doing their event or a sporting event or whatever that happens to be, to come to those things, definitely.
But you'd like to know, for example, when mock trial is.
Sure, as
Right.
as an example. Yeah.
It's a pretty significant social studies department event that they do a mock trial every year, so, okay.
Or they're just like, hey, we're doing the mock trial on this day, board members, you're all welcome to come. Here's where it is and how to get there.
So we should make sure they're in rooms close to the front of the building.
Or issue us official board maps.
Just don't bring the blue line back, we're okay. All right. Anything else? Yeah.
I know this, like the student council comes from the high school, but it'd be nice to hear from students from the Career Center and BAMS. I mean, I know BAMS has leadership, but I don't know if the, leaders from the Career Center, like, just come and just talk about what's going on. Not every meeting, but once in a while. Be nice to hear from the kids.
We used to have an ambassador group that Betsy used to run as part of Delta, the kids that would do tours and things, and that would present to members of the community, so reestablishing something like that would be nice.
I would be happy to set something up. I could work with my leadership folks, Jessica and Rob, to either bring some students here, part of leadership or whatever, to present on whatever, or they could coach them up and then I could meet them here and they could present. Sure. Send them an email right now.
Excellent. Excellent. Is there anything else? Well, I'm just going to say that next week is 7th graders and 9th graders start on Thursday, the 30th, right? Got that right? And everybody else is back to school on the 31st, and it's been sort of our tradition and history to come and help greet students on the first day, on both those first days if we can. So I would encourage board members to come and do that. I know that I've kind of been at the front door of the high school at least one of those days, and then I kind of go hang out at BAMS and help direct traffic a little bit and just kind of do stuff like that. And it's a great way to see kids and families and the staff interacting, because it's last year I was in BAMS in the lobby, and there was some returning teachers and some brand new teachers, and they were so full of energy. Even the kids that you could tell just got dragged out of bed they had to feed off that energy because the staff was excited to have them come back in the building. So seeing that was great, and then seeing the high school staff doing the similar thing on a different day is really great. So those 2 days next week would be great to have people come and help greet and see people, and then usually you do at the high school. Usually you do meetings soon thereafter, right?
We do. We'll do a welcome for the class of 2022. We'll do a meeting at 8:45, and then they'll be in classes by 9:15. And then at the end of the day, there's an opportunity to go out and they take their 22 picture on the football field, and that becomes the opening. When they graduate, the freshman picture is the opening of the yearbook, and the senior picture, same picture taken 4 years later, is at the end. So it's a tradition we started a few years ago.
And I know that when I've been here greeting, and then I've gone in, just kind of stood in the back of the room during those meetings too, just to see how it's going and what's happening. It's just a nice way to kind of feel of how the school year is going to start off and things like that. So I encourage all board members to do that if you can next week on Thursday and or Friday.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thursday we have, it's just 7th grade, and we all start in the multi-purpose room, and all the parents come and bring their kids, as many of them that can bring their kids in or meet them here. And the advisors take the students, we just do a quick welcome, and the advisors take the students upstairs and the parents stay. And we just, administration meets with parents and kind of do Q&As and a little overview of the year, and invite them back for, we have little potlucks and ice cream kind of things, or some type of social event. Each team will do one in the coming weeks. So you're welcome to that too, or any of those team nights. You'll probably be there for yours, but you get I think you get a good feel for the group of kids and the parents and the community we serve if you come to any of those things.
Well, is there anything else that we need to talk about, discuss for tonight's meeting? Or planning for the coming year? think we have some really exciting things potentially on our docket for education coming up, which would be great. I think that's very exciting. And if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there being no further business before this board, I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.